performing when they're really under pressure. Because there was a massive wave in the bottom lane for Giants to go take, and suddenly Elements were surprised they came down there, and that's why they ended up being caught out and lose the game. But for them, yeah, with losing these 2 bans, I feel like this week is probably the best week to do it, because they faced Giants yesterday, where you only have to ban Jax, and against ROCCAT, there's not really any target bans you have to aim for, because nobody's really been standing out on any specific champions.
Maybe Azir against Overpower. He has had some changes.
Has been nerfed though in 5.3,
has
so
had some changes.
Don't think so. I don't think that's going to be the ban. You can fear, of course, that Lissandra has been a fantastic first pick here in Europe. Kassadin already banned by ROCCAT on their side, so again, I'm not really sure what Elements is gonna have to ban here.
Players giving the camera just a little bit of love there as they wave to each other. As we mentioned, Elements will be losing those 2 bans. We'll see what they decide to take out for the 3rd ban, but I do just want to reiterate the following. Elements are 0-4. They've lost their 4 last games. ROCCAT are 1-3.
Yeah.
Only one matchup in their last 4.
I do think Elements is going to ban Zed. It's been the most banned champion for them. It's often banned against NukeDog. And also for all these mid lane bans from ROCCAT itself, they are setting up for a good lane matchup for Mr. NukeDog. A player who has had a few good games, but overall, we haven't seen too much from him. But same goes for everyone on that team.
Yeah, I really like NukeDog's Kassadin, actually. I think of the champions
Zed.
he's performed on, that's significantly better than most. And we do see the Zed was taken away, a near insta-lock on LeBlanc. And we do see a teleport plus ghost for Overpower. I wonder if that's signaling anything to come.
But you can really see, again, the bans here from ROCCAT. They were expecting the Zed to be banned by Elements, which is a good matchup into LeBlanc, and also the Kassadin. So they're taking away the 2 counters in the laning phase. So this is actually a fairly easy lane for NukeDog himself on LeBlanc, and therefore the first pick you put. When you take LeBlanc here, even though the bans were shaped towards it, you do leave up a lot of strong picks, and now Rek'Sai coming in for Elements. So I don't actually think they care too much about NukeDog getting one of his comfort picks. There's just so many champions Froggen can play. Worst case, you just take an Orianna and you just sit back and farm.
Yeah, we'll see what they decide to do. Slowing down in the 2nd rotation. With that Gnar and Rek'Sai on the board, Elements have got themselves some good lane presence and pressure from Shook in the jungle. And Kevin's obviously going to have the scaling in that front line. Also interesting, they've locked as per their positions. 10 seconds left to go. It's the duo lane for ROCCAT. Corki plus Morgana. They've got range, they've got poke, they've got a lot of magic damage. And we'll see what they're going to do with it.
Should be a Morgana support. Simply, as you just said here, they already have the LeBlanc and Corki locked in, so we have too much magic damage for ROCCAT. But we often see teams take like Morgana, Corki, like long range, poke against the likes of a Rek'Sai, because Rek'Sai doesn't have that hard engage option we see on a Jarvan. And that simply means when there's a Black Shield as well, if Rek'Sai ever gets close to someone, you Black Shield that target, you stop the knock-up, and you can really start fights through that. And that's why Elements are responding, saying, fair enough, we take Sivir now, we get the mobility. No Graves again for Reckless instead. Full focus on the team fight and the 5-on-5 here from Elements.
So, Reckless plays 8 games of Graves in a row. Yesterday pulls out the Corki, today pulls out the Sivir. Not going for Graves this week. We'll see if it works out for him. Elements still looking to lock in their mid lane. Number of options are available to him. For ROCCAT, they are looking for a top lane champion, and a jungle is the most likely. And we'll see where they're going to fall.
Yeah, we've seen Aurelia into Gnar a few times, and it's a champion Overpower likes to play. He used it back at IM Cologne a lot. It was actually banned away from him as well. But it does require you to stick in that one-on-one lane and not go for the team fights, and that's where ROCCAT is going to get in trouble, because on Element's side, you now have enough engage to always force a fight. So when Aurelia is sitting on her own and split pushing, if she's not in the right position to really pressure a tower or TP down for a fight itself, but then Elements will always engage on you, and even if she teleports in, the Gnar will be stronger in pure team fighting. So Elements on their side, as long as they don't allow ROCCAT to force like this 1-4 split where you have, or maybe in 1-3-1 with the LeBlanc in one lane, and then obviously the Aurelia in the other one, and just stick to team fighting, the Elements are going to be just fine. They have good lanes all around. Sivir into Corki is perfect for them. As long as they get a safe mid laner here who doesn't die to a LeBlanc, they're basically good to go.
What mid laner are you expecting the most? We've seen Froggen run Lulu in the past. We've seen the option of Orianna. If they want to go double AD, Ezreal has been flirted with this week, I think is the best way to highlight. 10 seconds left on the clock. What are you expecting most likely to Fisher?
Well, if it is an Ezreal, it's not a safe lane well, it's not a lane he's going to win, which goes for most of the lanes for Ezreal, but he can sit back and farm with his Q. He's going to run heal as well, most likely, or barrier even, because again of the Ignite here from Nuke Dog. So he's going to be fine just farming in the lane. And then when you run this double AD carry composition, you have so many fast pushing options because of Sevier with her wave that she's adding in, and then Ezreal as well with the long range poke. So for Element side, I mean, it's a strong all around 5-on-5 team fight. No peel, which means if ROCCAT can actually get a flank, they can kill the carries in the backline. But that's why Elements are looking to start the fight themselves and not allow ROCCAT to do it.
So we'll see who's going to get the opportunity to get the ball rolling, get those fights started. You can see the two respective team coaches, Ducky on your left, Mart on the right. We heard from Mart yesterday at the top of the show, and he was discussing how it was a mindset issue Elements was looking to rectify by bringing Kevin in. And we'll see if it works out for them today.
Yeah.
Too many opinions.
Too many opinions before. Nobody really listened to each other.
Yeah.
And now we heard they were very happy with Kevin. He was actually an option for them even going a few years back where they were creating this whole team. So Kevin definitely a guy who's been around for a long time. Had a good performance on Lissandra as well yesterday against Giants. And now, obviously, into an Irelia. He's going to win the laning phase early, we would expect. But then, once you get that Trinity Force, that's where you look more for team fighting on the Gnar, spec pushing on the Irelia.
So, another Ezreal mid here in Europe. You're about to see those team comps. Hit us up on Twitter, guys. Hashtag ROC win, hashtag EL win. Vote for who you feel will come out on top as we do jump onto the Rift. All of the rules that I thought were associated with double AD compositions have been thrown out the book this week. You're going to see whether or not this Gnar front line from Kevin and engage from Nif is going to buy enough time for Froggen and Reckless to put the damage down. We did see that sort of AD caster from Betsy yesterday, where he went early Manamune into Iceborne Gauntlet.
Yeah.
It gave a lot of kiting time, but there's also pretty, fast dashes and jumps from ROCCAT. So
I mean, I would quite like Iceborne Gauntlet against an Irelia, especially because you don't really have any other peel. Overpower will get spotted here. Nif saving his stun and getting the ward for Elements. So they want to get these early wards in here, trying to spot a potential lane swap, get a bit of information, but they are spotted. This is risky. ROCCAT can now come around them. If a binding connects from Vander, that's going to be your target.
Oh, Froggen's in a little bit of trouble.
And he has stun though as well.
From the rest of the team. How could this turn out? Everybody moving apart. Froggen actually not with the rest of the squad, but nothing ventured, nothing gained. Vision deep for Elements.
And the reason Elements are feeling so confident here is just because of Nif. With his AoE stun at level 1, leading the charge for them. Didn't really get any deep wards played.
Oh yeah, I noticed that actually, didn't put it down.
So been very standard wards instead, just to see if anyone is crossing the river. And Woolite placing the ward we've seen a few times already, up in the lane bush, to see if an AD carry or support is sitting ready to either do a little cheese level 1 or walk in to freeze the wave. So they're going to see Nif if you walk into this lane, and then you can see the swap.
So Defisher, you touched on the lanes, strengths and weaknesses and picks and bans. Was Elements looking for deep vision there and trying to set up some shenanigans, but ROCCAT scared them away? What would have been the game plan for Elements if they were not surrounded by ROCCAT members?
The thing is, Elements have good lanes, but against an Irelia, you normally want a lane swap on her to try and shut it down and delay her Trinity Force, which is so important for her to reach that power spike. But you can also say it's not even bad for Elements to get standard lanes. Any Sivir is good into the likes of a Corki. And Gnar, if Kevin can not die to these crooks, is going to win against Irelia early on as well.
Keep an eye on that one. I think he should be fine, but that was very, very close.
It's going to delay him quite a lot here, though.
Kevin finally going to clear that wave out, and then most likely teleport down to face off against Overpower. We'll see how quickly he can get into lane. Started with that Doran shield, defensive start against the Flask of Overpower, so sustain in that lane. And I definitely want to see how Froggen does against this LeBlanc.
Yeah, remember, Reckless also came late to the lane because he was helping Kevin, expecting the lane swap. You saw Nif walk in for a freeze, he took a hit for it, and again, Reckless being late to the lane, so he's actually falling behind in XP early on and has to wait now for the wave to turn. Elements playing it very, very close in these camps.
Fast and loose, but it hasn't cost them yet. Little bit of time against Kevin, and a CS difference, but the wave is pushing towards him.
But did see Kevin get a pink ward on his first back, so I'm really expecting to see Shook camp this bottom lane. Shut down this Irelia in the one-on-one. And as long as Kevin doesn't fall further behind from now, then he's more than fine. Level 3, remember he got the crooks for instant level 2 on his side, and it's not going to be a problem. So place this pink ward here, allow Rek'Sai now to tunnel over the wall, and go for some ganks on Overpower if he ever plays too aggressive. Good
stun from Kevin. Get some damage in Overpower, but it is returned by his opposite number. Small level advantage for Kevin, as you've already highlighted. Shook continuing to clear out the jungle as best he can. An early skirmish is Saber, in fact, as his first back. We do see Reckless and Nif, 20 CS to 18. Reckless trying to step in front of Nif, who just ate the Dark Binding. But a fair amount of AoE and wave clear from those two.
Was spotted. Ward just disappeared. So they got to see him. First little route here. We actually see skirmishes Saber so often against the Jarvan. Because often if Jarvan is fighting one-on-one against another jungler, he's going to use his combo to get in onto the jungler itself. Then you have the skirmisher here to get the 20% damage reduction and the true damage, so you kind of keep... You know he's not going anywhere, because he's already used the combo to get to you. And that's where you then can win the one-on-one on the Rek'Sai with the true damage especially. It's going to help out a lot. Yeah. We see this so often on Rek'Sai into Jarvan.
And we'll see if it works out for Shook. Gonna just continue farming up a relatively early sweeping lens there. And we'll see if it can work out. If you look at the bottom lane, notice Jankos setting himself up. Gonna look for Demacian Standard into the Dragon Lance, and a very insta-flash from Kevin, Summoner Spell blown.
So Jankos can return to this lane now. Still surprised Shook actually used some time in the top side, despite Kevin putting down an early pink ward. Jankos could even have walked in and cleared that ward after the gank itself. Could maybe been a little bit risky, I guess, if Rek'Sai had come over the wall.
I don't think anybody stepped into that bush just yet.
They pinged it though. They saw it. It was very easy to spot because you saw their ward in the inventory for Kevin, and then just go into the bush and place it. So they know the ping ward is there. Just want to get vision on Shook first before they go and clear it. Don't want to risk him coming for a counter gank. But honestly, for ROCCAT, yes, they like to go for really long games, but that's not because it's their choice. It's more they don't really do anything in the early game. They're way too passive, way too scared to make plays. But their comp, if they don't make anything happen in the mid game itself, they won't win the game. So they have to be able to make some plays.
Well, we saw that from Unicorns of Love yesterday. Mid game, once they got their Trinity Forces, they did not look for those engages. We're expecting both Overpower and Woolite to go that route. Good ward is going to spot out Jankos in the jungle, so Shook is going to clear out the Gromp. Maybe set himself up for a fight. He's gone in, he's knocked him up. Jankos is in trouble, got the red buff, it's ticking. Shook with first blood from a great ward, and that was just all too easy.
All too easy for him. But getting that kill is so important. You get all the information on the enemy jungler. You renew your red buff as well on the Rek'Sai. Great little setup for him. And he's still not showing himself in the bottom side, putting all the focus on the top side of the map, making sure Reckless and Nif can actually push down his lane over and over.
Look at the CS difference between Kevin and Overpower. Really making Na's life difficult. And yes, Shook is paying attention to the top half of the map, but it's paid dividends. He's got himself that kill, he's refreshed his buff. And it was actually the Rek'Sai invading on the Jarvan that secured him that play.
It's not been a good start for Kevin. He came back to the lane fairly late after doing Crooks, and he actually was slightly ahead in XP, but then the gank came in from Jankos, forced Kevin to recall.
Yeah, no
the wave was actually frozen near the Tower of ROCCAT. So as you said, yeah, Jankos could just return and kill him unless he recalled, which then forced him to fall even further behind in terms of CS. So that's not a good start from Elements, but they can be happy with the other lanes doing fairly well.
So Shook does have access to that Void Rush.
There we go.
Cleared out Crab in the top lane a little while ago, Crab in the bottom lane. Pinkwood still standing. That was placed very, very early on, at least 5 or so minutes ago. And Shook setting up on this bottom lane. Overpower, access to level 6. His ultimate's on cooldown for a few seconds longer. Does have Sheen and 3 points on that Equilibrium Strike. So looking for the burst as opposed to the sustain that we saw from yesterday's Aurelius.
He's looking for the setup with his jungler, and now Shook will actually find him. Overpower playing this smart. He comes back to the lane, you see a big wave, and he still knows there's a pink ward in the river. So he just said, okay, I'm just going to wait for the minions to push down. I'm not going to go for any trades here. I'm not going to try and be greedy for CS because there's such a high chance of the enemy jungler sitting in that river. So that was a smart play by him. Now he can get the farm, and yeah, he maxes E. Really setting up some easy ganks for Jankos. There's still no flash on Kevin. Not for long, so if ROCCAT want to take advantage of that, it has to be now.
Take a look at the item build here from Froggen. I think both of our Ezreal mids yesterday went Manamune first. And Fisher, you were touching on how it sort of delays the power spike and whatnot. Today, Froggen's gone for the tier as well as the makings of a Phage. So we may see a slightly earlier Trinity Force, a slightly later Manamune. We'll see how the lane continues to play out.
it's going to be the Trinity Force here after tier, and that's going to give him that mid-game spike around 15 minutes, which is really strong for him. He's also going to use it simply to counter the spike from ROCCAT's side. You know they're going to get Trinity Force on Aurelia and on the Israel, so I quite like it here from Froggen, being able to respond and knowing there's going to be a lot of action in about 7-8 minutes time. That's where ROCCAT is going to hit their spike, and if they don't use it, then Elements can still drag it fairly late, have a very strong front line with Dinar, the Rek'Sai, and of course the Sivir will outskill a Corki as well in terms of damage.
Oh, Froggen takes a lot of damage from Nukezak. We did see Vander scaring Shook out of the jungle, but here comes Jankos. Equilibrium strike out onto Kevin. Cataclysm goes down and an insta-stun from Kevin. Jankos and Overpower still putting the damage down. Despite a good two-man, not enough. Flash was not available, and Jankos makes the kill count.
So Jankos returning to the lane. Overpower again with that max E for longer stun duration. Easy setup for them. And actually, we just talked about how Elements can go late beforehand. Looking at the combo again, that's actually going to be risky for them because it's pure physical on their side. No magic damage coming in except for the Annie and obviously the W from Anar. So for ROCCAT, they can stack armor on Aurelia, on the Jarvan, get an hourglass on your mid lane as well, and suddenly these late game teamfights are actually going to be very long.
This might be bad. The stun comes out. Here comes Vander. Kevin teleports to a tower that's going to die and is forced to flash. Toby would say that TP sucked if he were casting the game. Unfortunately for Elements, but well played by ROCCAT. They punish Kevin for not having flash. They punish him for his misplay, and ROCCAT secure the first tower. It is replied by Reckless, or should be.
But that roam from Vander, he came down again to try and dive and force the tower to take a dragon after, because while he was expecting to lose the top turret, it was still it was on like 87% HP, so he could actually stay in the lane 2 and 2, delayed that one for a long time, just have Opa and Jankos take tower on their own. But went for the roam instead, so giving up a tower. Now Kevin, he's caught.
Soul Shackles is out. He's going to get rooted. Dark Binding connects, and that's just brutal. He tries to hop away. Kevin 0-2-0. Jankos and Overpower are just camping him. I mean, there misplays from Kevin maybe.
He should of course have known ROCCAT is doing the dragon after taking tower, and you can't overextend. Now your turret is gone. It's a little bit too easy for ROCCAT to go behind him and pick up another kill. So the roam paying off for Vander despite losing the top turret to Reckless and him.
So yesterday, Gambit were able to keep their opposing Irelia down, delaying the Trinity Force with repeated ganks. Today, Shook unable to do so because his decision was to focus the top half of the map. Aurelia 2-0-0 with a 30 CS advantage. Overpower is in a great position. The rest of Elements, even on CS in the mid lane, ahead on CS in the top lane, and Reckless has also secured that tower, so it's freed up Elements' duo to move around, either help out their teammates or decide to push other lanes. It looks to be the latter. It looks like Elements are grouping towards the bottom half of the map as Kevin has moved his way up top.
This should result in another tower for Elements, pushing this one in, because ROCCAT is actually keeping their dual lane on the top side, and a Sivir can push a lot harder than the likes of a Corki when it comes to every single wave. You even see Shook joining in, so they know, okay, we actually have an opening here on this turret. He's going to find Jankos, however.
Oh, they want Overpower.
Realizing Jankos here to back away. But this one, the tower. ROCCAT right now is giving up 2 turrets to Reckless. They have to respond with one in the top lane on their own.
Good global objectives here from Elements, despite giving up some kills. Reckless is going to wait for that minion wave to lose a few more before he secures it. 2 towers to 1. Woolite and Vander looking to do the same in the top. No support from Elements yet. Void Rush not available either. So this tower is most likely going to go down. Kevin, can't land the stun. Does actually get caught by the Dark Binding. Now Vander is going to throw down the Soul Shackles. Flash forward, stun is out. Woolite is putting the damage down, but Kevin is very tanky. It's taking a lot of hits. This is 0-3. And Kevin is really not in this game at the moment.
No, he's playing really greedy.
Look, he's shaking his head.
He wanted to try and defend the tower, but it was already so low that ROCCAT could just stay after the minions died anyway and last hit, and they just kill him. And then the death down in the bottom lane as well, after the dragon had been taken, where he stayed out, ignored the fact his turret was gone, and he was all on his own. So just 2 very
Poor
sloppy
calls.
kills, or
Yeah.
sloppy deaths, sorry,
Yeah.
for Kevin.
So let's take stock of the situation. 2 towers to 2. ROCCAT are securing kill after kill against Kevin. Trinity Force already picked up for Overpower. Trinity Force completed for Woolite. So we're expecting them to make a play. I do want to touch that Reckless working his way towards his first item spike, but it's Reckless and Nif that have taken the 2 towers on Element's side.
Yeah, so what ROCCAT actually decided to do in the early game was say, we don't care about you taking a tower as well. We are fine trading because we want to hit our power spikes.
He managed to get the stun on
Flashing away.
Nuke though. That was actually great. Nif does get away with his life, but forced to flash.
And the problem for him now, when he's forced back to base, ROCCAT already have the Trinity Force, so they're going to group in mid lane now with at least 4 guys while you keep their ready to split push. That's why they were happy trading towers, just to get to this spike earlier. As we just said beforehand, Siva is not there yet on her side. So for now, ROCCAT will be very strong. No, Trinity Force Froggen. That's the correct push they're making here. Try and land a bit of poke, get just a little bit of damage on this turret every time, and make sure the top lane now is not going to push too far down. Meet it beforehand, start slow pushing it back, and just have this Aurelia on her own. If Kevin goes down to try and one-on-one her, he's going to die. So you have this 1-4 setup with one lane slow pushing, and that's how they can keep pushing in on this mid turret, and after some time should be able to take it down.
We'll see if they can actually make that play work.
It's a lot of wave clear though from Elements.
For the time being, that True Shot Barrage, the Ricochet, the Boomerang Blade, it's all doing work. Actually, 2 boomerangs on the side of Elements, Na and Siva. We'll see if that can help them maintain control of the tower. Kevin finally getting his hands on some juicy CS. He's 40 down, left alone in that top lane. But notice, with the 2 Trinity Forces, how aggressive ROCCAT are positioning on the map.
And you even see Overpower here. He's actually not going to the top lane to take the farm. He wants to join for the fight and save the teleport for the dragon in about a minute's time. So he's running from the base. 5 guys grouped up here, getting a bit of wards down in the jungle off Elements to try and catch them up. But there's still a big wave pushing down this top lane.
So let's see how it works out. Who's going to get advantage? Nuke Duck, as well as Woolite, putting an auto attack after auto attack on this mid tower. It's down to a couple hundred hit points before the minions dry up. Elements, Shook is using that passive from the burrow to really spot all of ROCCAT's movements. Elements defend their tower. They managed to shove back ROCCAT from their jungle, but look at the wards. ROCCAT got some deep ones placed as Dragon is about to spawn.
Yeah, and the problem for Elements, they might have defended the tower for now, but it still took about 60% damage. So it's going to be easy for ROCCAT after taking a dragon to go back to a 1-4 and just keep pushing it and get a few hits. You have your Sheen proc from the Corgi every time. That tower will go down, and Elements won't be able to respond the same way and take down the mid turret from ROCCAT. At least not for now. They're setting up for dragon instead. That was poorly timed recall by Yankos, because he's not going to be there now. So the Elements actually got control of the dragon area. Just will lose turret, which, as we talked about, has already gone so low from beforehand. Just a matter of time before it will go down.
So ROCCAT making some better plays in the early game. We're 16 minutes on the clock. They've already got 3 kills, got themselves towers. They're getting some position on the dragon. And this is an early
Elements
game.
giving it up.
This is an early game that ROCCAT can be happier with. Vote is still in favor of Elements. Oh, is this going to steal? 2,000 hit points. It looks like ROCCAT are waiting.
Nope.
Yeah, they delayed it. You could see so clearly. But the one thing that's great is just for a team like ROCCAT, who have been struggling, 1-3 in the last 4 games, have shown that their early game and their laning phase is a weakness in their match. They've shown a good game plan, a good strat. They've got Aurelia, her Trinity Force early, and ROCCAT are pushing around the map.
Just using their spike correctly. And Elements realizing they couldn't fight for Dragon either. Had no good position on it. Already lost the mid turret. So Rekt is showing himself in the top lane. ROCCAT now knows that's going to be pushed down because they saw Nif as well. Should be able to react in time. The problem is still is Aurelia sitting in the bottom lane on her own. Nobody can go down and stop her. She has teleport as well. And she's so far ahead of Kevin, who's died so many times. Vander with the black shield. Needs to get proc, and then you can stun him. Nope.
Oh, Tempest comes out, does not manage to stun Vander. So with that big AoE stun down, Vander, he flashes for the deaths, does manage to connect with the Dark Binding. Now Nuke looking for a target. He uses the double leap, does get in. Kevin forced to hop away. ROCCAT are on the chase. Shook has the Ignite burning. He's forced to burrow under the turret. Teleport from Overpower to mid lane while all of this is going on. 3 members of Elements still in retreat. I can't talk today. As Nuke nukes Kevin down. Gets himself on the board. 5 for 1. They punish Elements' aggressive play.
Yeah, it really seems like Elements not too sure what they want to do. Didn't feel like they could push the mid lane, so they went 4 guys to the top lane instead. Showed at least 3 of them, so ROCCAT knew what was going on. Rotated around to defend the turret, and then once they went for Vanda with the tippers, Nif just tried to connect the tippers when Black Sheep would have disappeared or died, and it just stayed alive. Meaning Vanda could turn it around with the binding, and then ROCCAT chasing it up. And Opa, of course, using teleport to defend the mid turret. So good response from them. Elements just trying to make some plays to get back here. Nif.
Oh, Nif is caught out once more. He does flash this time round. Woolite jumps in, but it's Overpower that secures the kill. It's Woolite that's in trouble. He does manage to put enough distance thanks to that Valkyrie and flash. But another quick kill for ROCCAT. Just pulling the trigger and melting Nif's HP bar.
And just making a good play after getting the 2 kills. Completely taking over Element's topside jungle. Wow, he actually dodged it. Not bad, Woolite. Not bad.
Going to be able to use that bobsled to slide away. Woolite 1-0-2. Sork shoes completed as well as that Triforce. ROCCAT are showing that they can play the map, they can push the map. And they're playing aggressive. I mean, Elements don't really have a reply. The few moves that Elements have made, they've been punished for.
It's what we said. ROCCAT with this comp have to make plays in the mid game, and they have done it. So full credit to them. Got the 3 out of turrets, picked the fight, or at least punish Elements for trying to make some plays. Only problem now is you don't have a teleport. Well, another problem could be. Woo!
That was close. That was so close.
But no teleport now for Overpower, meaning, yes, you can still do your 1-4, but you have to be very careful, because Kevin can join in time, and then be a 5 vs 4. So we might see ROCCAT just chill out a little bit, wait for the cooldowns to be ready, reset the game, then regroup and do the same 1-4 because nobody can stop Overpower.
Yeah, Overpower and Woolite with some side lane farm. Get some juicy CS. Kevin still yet to break 100. He's managed to get his hands on Arandian's Omen, but at 21 minutes, he's not in a good position. Nukeduck gets some damage down onto Froggen as Kevin eats yet another Dark Binding. There's no minions for Elements to play with, and here comes Overpower.
Kevin is being sacrificed here by Elements. You saw Reckless twice now go to the top lane and push out the wave. That was a lane Kevin could have farmed. Bot lane has been pushed down as well all the time, or Overpower has been sitting there, meaning that Kevin couldn't join or go down to that lane. So basically, Elements right now is saying, we want all the farm on our carries, and we don't care about you. You've died too many times, you're too far behind in farm, we're just going to keep you up, and you're just going to be a tank. Nothing else. But he needs to be able to get a side lane. Otherwise, he's going to be so weak that he can't take any damage from the likes of a LeBlanc and a Corki in these fights. So they got to give him some farm, not put him in a mid lane where he doesn't really add too much. But as long as the lanes are being pushed down towards ROCCAT at this point by the likes of Reckless, then there's no farm to get from Kevin.
So Reckless needs to find himself that gold. Not going to get his hands in the jungle camp. You can see Shook gearing out those Raptors. Nukeduck looking for a flank. Nukeduck's looking for a target and got himself 200 CS by the 21 minutes. Almost near his hourglass.
He wants to get that one as well against all this physical damage. Remember, only physical damage from Elements, and then you have the Annie to provide some magic. That's about it. ROCCAT is going to go full armor here and just dive onto these double AD carries who doesn't really have any peel because Froggen as well, he's going for damage instead of utility, so no Iceborne Gauntlet. There's barely any kiting available for them. It's only the Sivir ulti that's going to add some mobility to try and disengage.
Yeah, we'll have to see if that's going to be enough for Elements. Muramana was completed and upgraded for Froggen. His hands on that red buff. Woolite continues to shove out the wave, but look at this. There's Reckless moving to the bottom lane. Kevin does have some farm up top, but it may not be enough. The rest of ROCCAT are grouping towards the inner turret.
And it won't be for long either, because ROCCAT see him top lane with the wave that's been building up very slowly. So they go to the bottom side now, meet the wave, you take a tower, might even try and force a teleport from Kevin. Mega Knight's just been popped, 15 seconds on the dragon. This is good timing for them again. And look at all the wards in the jungle around this blue buff of Elements. Look at Nif, he's gonna die.
Nif gets just destroyed. The chains is enough. Now Woolite looking to 1v1 Reckless. He Valks in, heal, the ROCCAT, the death of Reckless. And Woolite manages to make it work. ROCCAT are continuing to group. Teleport coming down for Kevin on the inhibitor turret. Actually, it's Overpower teleporting in. Kevin did recall. It's recalled that one. Now the inhibitor's getting dropped. 23 minutes. ROCCAT find 2 kills. Thanks to a pick from Nukeduck, and they take the inhibitor.
A pick from Nukeduck again, also the kill onto Reckless. He just had 2 seconds left on Flash, and he could have stayed alive, But this, again, perfect play. Power play from ROCCAT. They've ward up the jungle. No way Elements can get a flank onto them. No wards. They could teleport in behind them from the Gnar. And then you just see Kevin sitting at top lane trying to finally get some farm. And you know you have 5 guys on the bottom side to take it again. Look at the minimap. No reaction from anyone. Ezreal as well from Froggen sitting in the mid lane. Another pick onto Nif. Not the first time in this game. Being caught slightly out in here for Reckless. Just a few seconds on his flash. And Woolite takes the trade. And the last rocket coming in. Boom.
I think there was 2 crits back to back as well. Woolite, Trinity Force paying off. Manages to take him down. We do see again Nukeduck looking for more. Death Cap actually completed. Thanks to all of the gold that he picked up. Well, we'll see if Nukeduck gets taken out. Does get caught by the stun. Shook gets caught by a Dark Binding. Black Shield is on, but it might not be enough. Boomerang slow. It's not going to be able to hold Nukeduck down. Elements invest a fair amount, and Nukeduck gets out clean. Vander with a good Dark Binding.
Good reaction time from Nukeduck as well. Flashing the Tibbers. Actually went for Death Cap because he's so far ahead. He's just looking to assassinate people. That Outlaws can come in later for him. His 2 tanks is going to do enough.
Probably going to be a Void Staff next. Considering how the game is going, ROCCAT doesn't need to buy defensive on Nukeduck yet.
Very true. He's so mobile anyway. There's not really any lockdown outside of Nif to maybe try and get him. And if you miss the Tibbers like we saw before here, when Nukeduck flashed it away, suddenly the LeBlanc can do whatever she wants.
And I also don't see an AD carry getting the time that they need to kill a LeBlanc that's got this much AP already. So Nukeduck is in a great position. The double AD from Elements is simply not working. 25 minutes in, they're 5,000 gold down. They're down 2 towers. They're down 3 dragons. I mean, this is the same scenario that Gambit were in just a few moments ago. And Gambit had such a decisive win.
I just love this play again from ROCCAT as well. They just choose 2 lanes. Okay, mid and top lane, we completely take over that jungle once again. So you have to go back to your own base, and now we can just freely get some damage on the turrets. You have to take the long route around if you want to try to defend. So there's nothing Elements can do in time other than maybe get a kill on ROCCAT here. Or Vander. Nope, flashing it away.
Vander even surviving. He's got a 25-minute support hourglass.
But this is just the first time we see ROCCAT play so well early on.
Yeah.
Really use the mid-game spikes and use the map and vision control, because they are the team who buys the most wards. They finally use them really offensively to force Elements out and just take over the entire map. Really, really well done.
Now Reckless has been forced to do cleanup duty in the back. Still no farm going to Kevin. 125 after 26 minutes. Reckless is farming that bottom lane. There's supers pushing in, but there are no inner turrets left. They're down to inhibitors only.
Yeah, and you'll get to this point when you run double AD. If you fall behind, and especially if you lose the ward war in your own jungle, so you no longer can prevent any flanks from coming in from the likes of Aurelia, from the likes of LeBlanc, well then you can't do anything because you're too squishy overall with your carries. Reckless might be the next target. Nukeduck, sadly, not getting a piece of him. We got to back away there. Standard war between Norway and Sweden. We see it often in Scandinavia. And then we have the Danish player from Froggen in the mid lane, so see who can kill each other. I root for the Danish people.
Definitely gone all Nordic on this one. After your little Soren v Soren battle on PTL, discussing their favorite foods. Your Danish sausage pølse.
Yeah.
If anyone's had some, let me know how it tastes. Officio reckons it's the best. But let's get back on track. ROCCAT, with absolute vision, are going to start off this Baron. Elements unable to reply. Nukeduck can apply the defensive duty and force Froggen away. Wow, look at that. Shook's gone in. He's not going to be able to get out of this one. Baron goes to ROCCAT. Shook goes down.
So far, they can keep creating picks with their comp. They're stacking full armor against the double AD from Elements, the physical damage all around. So there's nothing Elements can do in terms of team fighting, not now, not in 20 minutes either. They might hit a point where they can try and kite it out. If you really, really get past the point where Corki's damage starts falling off Aurelia as well, you can start dealing with her. But then again, you have to kill these tanks with so much armor.
You're way optimistic. Jankos is never going to let them get to that point. ROCCAT with Baron buffer on the middle inhibitor turret. It is taken down. They're now onto their second inhib of the game. ROCCAT at 29 minutes are shattering the base of Elements. And this is League of Legends by the numbers. ROCCAT got an advantage. They got their items. They got the fights they wanted. Nukeduck wants to get even more.
He's been on fire this game, like the rest of his team. Great shot calling. Again, they really played his lead well. Used the mid game. Love the way they place the wards. Love the lanes they decide to push in. You have seen how Elements had no response. No chance of ever grouping up as a team and trying to like wave and defend. Never gonna happen when you're forced to constantly run between two lanes and you cannot go into your own jungle because then you face check LeBlanc who's gonna one-shot you. This is just perfect play by ROCCAT. As long as they can finish it now, 2 inhibitors gone. 4th dragon, you don't even care about that one at this point. Just go straight for top lane, wait for super minions. Not enough wave clear for Elements to defend it.
Yeah, that's actually something that's interesting to note. You know, Gambit's victory earlier today, ROCCAT's win that's going to happen shortly, really, with Overpower, Frozen Heart, and Randuin's.
Let's see.
It's all teamwork. It's decision-making. It's map play. And it's great to see. This is a rematch. Elements were able to win after 64 minutes back in week 2, I think it was. ROCCAT dug deep, ROCCAT defended, but Elements are not in a position to do so today.
No, just falling way too far behind early on. Kevin with a lot of stupid deaths, honestly, for himself. And then ROCCAT as well, just being able to push every single lane, every single advantage. Overpower was so far ahead of Mr. Aurelia.
Look at that.
This game is over.
The Mimic Distortion just destroying. Cataclysm comes down. Towers taken out in the background. Elements are in full retreat. It is a basic win for ROCCAT. All inhibitors down. 31 minutes. ROCCAT are knocking on the Nexus turrets. Elements are just disconnected from this game. ROCCAT so good. We do see on the hunt thrown out from Reckless. It is a last-ditch effort. Overpower is going to solo Reckless. It's not going to be enough as Nukeduck looking to close out Nif. Kill credit goes to Overpower. And ROCCAT end their losing streak and make Elements go 0-5 in the spring splits.
Honestly, just a perfect game for them. Everything from the way they handle the early game into the mid-game transition, the rotations, everything. They're so happy. Finally, they pick up a win.
So Fisher, at the beginning of the day, you touched on how teams in this position need to look for a 30-minute convincing win. ROCCAT did it in 31 minutes. It does not get more convincing than that. And you saw the whole team, the managers, the coach,
again,
jumping for joy.
Perfect play, Elements, same problems we have seen often. Not really reacting to anything going on. Giving up the entire mid game to ROCCAT as well. And I mean, if you look at a game like this, it really also feels like this ROCCAT just outpicked Elements in the pick and ban phase when you had this full physical comp from with double AD and then the Gnar top lane as well from Elements their side, and Opa and Jankos could stack armor, and again you could use the mid game to get the big enough lead to just shut down the carries as well, because when you play double AD, if you do fall behind, you just have nothing you can do, because you can never really fight, you can never face check anything, you can never force anything. You're relying on winning early on,
yeah,
and they didn't. So honestly, ROCCAT, from pick and ban phase in their favor to everything happening in game as well.
Such a big difference in ROCCAT's performance. You look at all their previous games, especially in the opening 3 weeks, ROCCAT had nearly no presence in the laning phase, nearly no presence in the 20 to 30 minute mark. We had the graphic at the beginning of this game. They were down traditionally 1,500 gold on average. And today, by 20 minutes, they basically had the game in the bag. Completely. They had so many objectives. They were so far ahead.
Yep.
ROCCAT have they've gone from day to night.
This is the team, this is how ROCCAT plays in scrims, I think we should say. And why so many of the other teams respect them a lot and say they are a good team. They just need to find their footing on the stage. This is a normal ROCCAT scrim. Yeah. They can do this every week. Suddenly, they look a lot better because the way they played around the wards were perfect. So many plays down, denying so much vision from Alliance or from Elements as well, and just pushing that lead. It was fantastic to watch, and that's basically League of Legends by the book. Yeah, every single objective, every single move around the map. The moment they had those Trinity Forces, it took a minute and a half for them to group up, Trinity Force Aurelia, Trinity Force Corki. Take mid tower, take Dragon, push further up, take over the bottom side of the jungle first, then we took the tier 2 turret there, then they swapped all the vision to the top side, took those 2 towers, went back and took a Baron for themselves
Yeah.
and pushed it in for the win, basically.
For Elements, this was a very difficult game. Unfortunately for them, Kevin had a bad game.
Yes.
And he's played 2 matches under the Elements name. I think it's a little unfair to be jumping to conclusions, but there were some poor decisions this particular game you can't ignore. And Elements just needs to go back to the drawing board and figure out how do they avoid that happening, what do they need to do, because had Irelia not got so far ahead, I mean, take it a further step back, had Shook ganked to maybe help Na out in that matchup, things could have gone different. I am going major what ifs, but
you have a point, because it was a bit of a weird start where Kevin went back and instead of him, let's say, getting potions and just being like really aggressive in the lane because he had more sustain now than Irelia on the Gnar, he went for that pink ward. He places the pink ward, and then you would expect Shook to come down and really camp the lane. He came down once, and that was at level 6, and Opal were just saying, I'm just waiting at my tower, I'm not going to risk anything.
Yeah.
And then they couldn't do anything to him. They didn't manage to shut him down early. He got a massive CS lead because Kevin started dying all the time as well, because he just got picked off when he was overextended. And that was obviously one problem. But also for Elements, they keep talking about how they pick and ban phase. They're not happy about it. They're not really liking what they have in the game or the match itself. And I feel like this one as well, you kind of pick yourself into a corner where you say, if we don't win early game and we don't win fast enough and can take down these towers with our fast push through the Sivir and the poke from an Ezreal, before we get like 250 armor on Jankos and Overpower, then we're not going to win the game. And that's such a problem, because once you're in the fall behind, there's literally nothing you can do other than just sit back and wait for the enemy team.
Yeah, and it was Froggen that actually picked that Ezreal, last pick on the Elements side. So today, Gambit took down Fnatic, ROCCAT and Elements that could have gone 50-50. Copenhagen Wolves versus MYM, and HTK versus SK. I'm looking forward to seeing if the underdogs are the ones that reign supreme. But before we get to any of those, I'm going to send it over to Shox at the analyst desk to break down that game a little further.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Here with 2 relieved faces on ROCCAT, Overpow, and Jankas. Congratulations. Good to see you guys on the desk again, because it's been a rough ride. Tell me about this game and utilizing the fact that you guys, 1, really needed to win, and 2, that Elements had 2 less bans in your game plan, Jankas.
Well, I think that 2 less bans helped us a lot, because we could have just went for the middle ban. Like, we could have just banned one guy and then force him on champion that he's not comfortable with, and just pick like first pick for our mid laner, LeBlanc, that's very good in this meta, and then they had no answer about that. And we kind of had to use every method possible that we can to win this game, because we were on a losing streak, and we were kind of sad that last week we lost against the new amateur teams that entered the LCS, and well, we did not, as of yet, the expectations were higher than our play, but I hope it will change.
Okay, so Over, I have a little question for you. Since you were the one facing Kevin in that bottom lane, you kept going for those kills, but in those ganks, and you managed to find them over and over. Were you just picking on the new guy, or was it was it because of the matchup?
Before this week, like, we had a plan to just, pick up the kind of weak top laners. Like, Youngbuck and Kevin are known for the passive laning phase, so I could just go with some strong early game champion that combines with Jarvan or Nidalee and just camp the hell out of him. This game worked out really good, but last game against CW, we didn't do so well in early game, so we couldn't really do that.
It's interesting to me that you mentioned both Youngbuck and Kevin, top laners that were in the league before. You obviously transitioned to top in this season. What will it take for you to transcend and being able to take on the other top laners as well that you haven't been able to get the upper hand over, because the last couple of weeks it just hasn't been working out?
It's hard to say. Like, in solo queue, I like to play everything and every champion, every role. So I'm kind of used to playing top lane, because it was my second playthrough in solo queue as well. So it's not that hard to transition for me to any other role. And also, mid is kind of similar to top lane. Let's be honest with that. And it's not take that much to transition to top.
Okay, so Jankas, you were known as the First Blood King, terrifying in the last season. Recently, you haven't really been able to find similar success. What do you attribute that to, and do you think you'll come back to power as the king?
Well, I really hope so, but lately in the LCS, I feel like people are playing smarter, and it's quite hard right now to pick up the First Bloods on just ganks. Like, usually it's more about the vision control early game and skirmishes that happen very often. So I think we just kind of need to change our play style to play more around the early game, around vision, and have those skirmishes, and then hopefully I will be the first blood king again.
Hopefully. You do mention it. You mentioned it before as well. It seems like the level has just gone up, and you guys also can't easily beat the teams that have come out of Challenger into the LCS. What for you has been the thing that surprised you the most and that teams have stepped up in this year that you guys are unable to find those wins regularly?
Well, to be fair, I don't think those teams are that good. I just feel like we are underperforming, and well, they are not bad as well. Like they are playing good. Their individual players are good as well, and the game is more about team play right now. So even if someone has like a little bit worse player, if the team coordination is good, then they can obviously win. Like I would say even Copenhagen Wolves, for example, like their players are not known for being like the top of the Europe, but as a team they play very well, so they can pick up the wins from the better teams, I guess.
Okay, Jankas, another question for you. Both you and Elements were kind of slumping coming into this match, not really doing that great lately. What made you come out ahead and Elements didn't?
I think the two bands had, well, kind of, it's hard to say, but I think those two bands helped us a lot that they didn't have them. And then it was just like we had to win this match, you know, not only because we lost a fierce match against Elements that we played, so it would have been like 0-2 against them, but also that we have been on a losing streak, and well, it will be really sad for us, and it will be frustrating as well that we are just losing every time. And well, Elements yesterday they looked like very strong team, but at the end Giants won. So today we didn't we respect them a lot, and we were confident anyway going into those match because like we think that we can beat everyone, but it's just that little mistakes that loses the game. So we tried to talk a lot about this game, and I guess it worked out.
Yeah. Final question, as you touched on it already, and you say you think you can still beat anyone if everything's right. In the beginning of the season, you said top 3, no question about that. Are you reevaluating your objectives, maybe over POW, or is that still the case?
No, top 3 is still as our main objective, and from there we want to, like, if we go to Worlds, obviously we want to perform really well, and let's see after that.
Yeah, you guys took the first step here. Congratulations, great victory versus Elements. All right, we're going to take a short break, but when we return, Freeze and the rest of the Copenhagen Wolves will look to avenge their Week 2 loss against Meet Your Makers. See you in 3.5.
As we speak, ROCCAT and Elements are setting up on stage. Both will be looking for that crucial win today to turn this split around. Cataclysm goes down and an insta-stun from Kevin. Jankos and Overpower still putting the damage down. AoE stun down. Vanda, he flashes for the deaths. Does manage to connect with the Dark Binding. Now Nutak looking for a target.
I go on Rector stop. Nice.
Nice.
And
Nice. And ROCCAT end their losing streak